ביאור משנה ח'. Let's do משנה ח'. We'll finish this today. ביאור משנה ח'. אין נותנים קמח לתוך החרוסת או לתוך החרדל. You don't put wheat, קמח, flour, sorry, לתוך החרוסת, into the חרוסת. We're going to see what the חרוסת is soon. It's exactly what the חרוסת is on the seder plate, by the way. או לתוך החרדל, or into the mustard. Now, why would you put flour into these things? To make it thick. Just like today. To make it thicker, they used to put flours in other stuffs. Yeah? So it says, you don't put it into this, nor into that.
It's wet.
Yeah, but every wet is every wet a problem, we'll see.
Yeah, חשבתי every wet.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if every wet. It's water, right? Usually it's water, the problem is. חרוסת, what's a חרוסת? היינו תערובת של רסק פירות, בלול בחומץ ומים. It's a mix of all kinds of fruits, mixed with vinegar and with water. So you don't put the kemach inside of there, because to thicken it, because it's going to come to chimutz. העשויה, what do you make חרוסת? In those time, by the way, we have it on a seder plate, that's the only time we have it throughout the year. But in the old time, they used it all the time. It was in every meal it was there. It was like our ketchup. You know, like the American kids put ketchup on everything. That was their ketchup. You know, you put that on your food, on your spaghetti, on your meat. That's what you put. It was like the ketchup of the time.
The leftover of the vegetables, the grind.
Not vegetable, fruits.
Fruits.
Something like barbecue sauce, call it. You know, it was like this barbecue sauce that we use today. Ketchup that we use today. Mustard we use today. Those kind of things that people used. העשויה לטבול בה את הבשר. They used to marinate the meat with it. והיו רגילים לערב בה גם קמח. And the custom was to mix with it also flour. אבל בפסח אסור ליתן לתוכה קמח. But in Pesach one is not allowed to give flour into it. מפני שהוא מחמיץ על ידי המים שבה. It becomes חמץ through the water that's in it. וכן אסור ליתן קמח לתוך החרדל. And one is not allowed to put flour into the chardal, the yellow stuff, into the mustard, מאותו הטעם, from the same reason, because of the water. But it says it's not the end of the world. If you put it, it's not the end of the world. See, we're so scared of it. So don't be scared. Put it in and eat it. In less than 18 minutes. What are you worried about? It says it's not a problem. Yeah, it says don't do it in the beginning. But if you did it, ואם נתן, יאכל מיד. But if you did it, it's not like today we lose our mind.
You do the matter, you get wet in the little matters, is the end of the world.
Exactly. In those times, אם נתן, if he gave, יאכל מיד, he will eat it immediately. בגמרא מבואר, שדווקא אם נתן קמח בחרדל. The Gemara explains that it's specifically if you put flour in the mustard, יאכל מיד, you should eat immediately. לפי שהוא חריף, because mustard is sharp, ואין הקמח ממהר להחמיץ בו, and the קמח doesn't become immediately חמץ, אבל הנותן קמח בחרוסת ישרפנו לאלתר. But if you put קמח in the other concoction with the fruit and the water, that you'll have to do immediately, because it might become חומץ, the process immediately. שהקמח ממהר להחמיץ בה, because in that concoction the קמח is going to become חומץ immediately, so therefore you have to take this whole concoction and burn it, so that, you know, like we said before, בל יראה ובל מצא. ורבי מאיר says, אוסר את החרדל, he says even mustard he prohibits, אם נתן לו בו קמח, if he puts flour in it, אפילו לא אכלו מיד, even to eat it immediately. Why? שלדעת רבי מאיר, הקמח ממהר להחמיץ בחרדל כמו בחרוסת. He says, in my experience, it becomes חמץ as quickly as it is in the water. ואין הלכה כרבי מאיר. And the halacha is not like Rabbi Meir. Next one. What about the Korban Pesach? The Korban Pesach, we know what it is already. Yeah. So it says, אין מבשלים את הפסח. One is not allowed to cook the Pesach sacrifice. את בשר קורבן הפסח, the Pesach sacrifice. לא במשכין, you're not allowed to cook it neither in water ולא במי פירות, neither in juices. שכתוב בקורבן הפסח, why not allowed to do it? Because the verse in Shmot says, אל תאכלו ממנו נא, it said you shouldn't eat from it raw, ובשל מבושל במים, and you should not cook it in water. ובא המשנה ללמד, and the Mishnah comes to teach, שלא רק במים, not only in water you're not allowed to cook it in, אלא אף במשקים אחרים, in any kind of liquid you're not allowed to cook it. כגון יין, you're not allowed to cook it in wine, or oil, you're not allowed to fry it with oil, or במי פירות, or with juices. אסלו לבשלו, you're not allowed to cook it. שכן דורס... What? Good question. Never thought about it. That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe you're allowed to in air fry. שכן דורשים, I think you should be allowed to, yeah? ובשל מבושל, because it says, ובישל מבושל מכל מקום. כל בישול שהוא, it says any kind of cooking is not good. No, air frying should be good. Cooking. No, cooking means water, in liquids. Cooking means liquids. It could be you're allowed to, yeah? What? Yeah. Yeah. אבל סכין, but you know what you are allowed to? You're allowed to marinate it, ומטבילין אותו בהם, and you're allowed to dip it in them. What does that mean? סכין את הפסח במשכין, but for example, as you're cooking it over the fire, you're allowed to put barbecue sauce on it, you're allowed to put everything on top of it. Yeah, wine, beer, whatever, not beer, because beer is chametz. But wine and other things, כגון בשמן או ביין, for example, oil or wine, וכן בשאר מי פירות בשעת צלייתו, like barbecue sauce today, you're allowed to put barbecue sauce when it's on the fire, ומטבילים אותו בהם בשעת אכילתו, and also you're allowed to dip it in them at the time that you eat them. ואין חוששים שמא יפוג טעם הצלי, and you're not worried that the roasting of the taste of the roasting will remove from it. והרמב"ם כותב, the Rambam writes, אבל סכין ומטבילים אותו בהם אחר שנצלה. But you're allowed to dip it inside and put him inside all these liquids after he's already cooked. In other words, the Rambam doesn't permit you to do it while the cooking is taking place. He's saying, while the roasting is taking place, only after. מי תשמישו של נחתום. So you have, again, the people bake their own their bread. They bake their own matzah. They make their own bread every morning. The woman will come into the kitchen and start making bread. You know? So what we should do when you make bread? He's the only one who is good. Yeah, he's the only one. Yeah, of course. How do you make bread? With kemach, that's the ingredient. The ingredient is kemach. He was the only one who knows. The kemach sticks, right? So what do? You put your hand in water, right? All the time. So the kemach will not stick. So she has a bowl now that is water, and all the time she puts her hand to make her hands wet. That bowl, as she's working it, it's going to remain over there, and that bowl is going to become chametz. So we warn her. Mei tashmisho shel nachtum. This is the water that the baker is using. Shu noten b'hem yadav, that he puts in them his hands, kedei להחליק את פני הבצק, so that it's going to make smooth the matzah. Ishpechu b'makom midron. You have to pour it out. Don't let it stay there for 18 minutes. Pour it out outside. And not that it will collect. Make sure that because it will collect. Pour it out and it will go away. שלא יישארו מכונסים במקום אחד, that it will not stay there in one place. Why? מפני שמחמיצים. Because they are become chametz. מחמץ הבצק הנדבק לידיו של הנחתום. Because of the batzek, because of the dough that is going to stick to the hands of the nachtom. You see, in those times it wasn't a big deal. Like we go crazy. They didn't go crazy. There was no... I mean, you couldn't go crazy. They used to bake bread every day. That's right. And by the way...
But why didn't they bake all the matzahs before Pesach? And then they didn't.
No, that only started in Europe. And it didn't start a long time ago. Probably like 350, 400 years ago. Industrial revolution. So I'll tell you the thing is, throughout the Jewish nation, throughout the time, it was done exactly like this. In Europe, and only in Europe, in the Arab countries, it only stopped around 100 years ago. In Europe, it lasted until 400 when the Industrial Revolution happened, because they used to be very careful, the women, and like I said, their ovens used to be very hot, clay ovens. That's what they used, and the clay oven cooked very quickly. And the bread they cooked for Pesach wasn't the thick bread. They knew that it's for Pesach, it needs to cook quickly, so they used to make like like lafa, like pita. They used to make pita, like our pitas, something like this. And they used to make it very quick. How long does it take to cook a pita in a clay oven? 5 minutes, not 18 minutes. A bread, even bread maybe you may, but it's 5 minutes in a clay oven. What happened in Europe? Industrial revolution happened in Europe like 300, 400 years ago. People stopped having clay ovens. They started having metal ovens. Metal ovens are not hot. And even those, the pita in those ovens, in the metal oven, started to become, what do you call it? More than 18 minutes it cooks, and it's still rising. So the rabbis said to the women, you're not allowed to make any more bread at home. Only in the big ovens, and somebody's it didn't finish yet. Only in the big ovens, and even in the big ovens, the baker is going to do it for you and do it. The problem is that there were not so many big ovens, and the bakers in the beginning, there would still be, even in Europe, there will be these clay ovens all over the place in big bakeries. But then even the clay ovens in the big bakeries turned into metal ovens, and that was all. And there's one more problem. And even if they still had in some places clay ovens, they couldn't make enough bread for everybody. So they said, look, we cannot, so they started making 2 days before, 3 days before, but by the time it gets to the table, it's already stale. So they says, we don't have a choice, we're going to make crackers. Crackers don't spoil. So in Europe, it only started about 300 years ago that they ate crackers. The crackers don't get stale, and then you can make it 6 months before, 3 months before, 2 months before. That's the only reason we're eating crackers now. 400 years ago, nobody ate crackers. Everybody ate nice pita, soft, nice to eat.
Why don't we do it?
Because you don't have clay ovens and you don't know how to do it. We don't trust you. And the rabbis don't trust you. They say once the rabbis they make the decree, we don't trust you, we don't trust you. You don't know how to do it. Those were passed on from mother to daughter. They were very careful. They knew how to do it. And then the art was removed. The people don't have the art anymore. So therefore we don't do it.
Practically ate pita, not matzah.
Yeah, of course. They ate pita. Yeah.
I was sure they would eat matzah.
In the Arab countries, they ate pita until 100 years ago. Yeah, they ate pita until 100 years ago. It's only in the last 100 years that this happened to them. In the Ashkenaz communities, it's 300 because the Industrial Revolution got them first.